When you want to govern at scale, for example, if there is a financial organization and they want to migrate to the AWS cloud, so what we usually recommend them is to have a three stages. One is enable, the second is provision, and then is operate. So basically, once you enable your AWS account, you have set up all the guardrails, all the basic security implementation in terms of identity access management, centralized logging, networking. Then you, once you have to provision the new accounts, new AWS accounts or new services, you have the process around that as well. Also, once you operate in the AWS account, because once you are migrated, you are operating your application, maybe you are modernizing some, or maybe you're going more and more cloud native, you need an operating model as well. So the first step is to be enable. So we'll see what comes up under enable. So once we set up the landing zone, we need to enable the governance. So we can have this centralized identity and access management. When we deploy the AWS control tower, it comes up with the centralized identity and access management through AWS SSO. So we can enable the AWS SSO service and manage all the access to our AWS accounts through a central identity and access management. We need to establish the guardrails. So once we deploy this AWS control tower, the guardrails will be implemented. For example, MFA on the root user should be enabled. We shouldn't be having, port 22 open to. Also, we can implement certain set of rules which we need as per our compliance. It comes up with some sort of, by default guardrails which are recommended by AWS. So it will implement automatically within all your AWS accounts. Plus, you have to automate the account provisioning. So once we operate in AWS, we need to create new AWS accounts. We need to, deploy a new our new AWS services, or we need to migrate new applications. Once we create new account, the account provisioning will be automated and it will be compliant. It will be having all the uh, guardrails, all the security best practices implemented within that AWS account. So it's a continuous process. We have to continuously manage this. If new users are coming, we are managing their identity. If we have new compliance, we can implement some more guardrails. If we need to create new AWS accounts, it can be provisioned through this landing zone and it can be compliant. So once we operate in AWS, it gives us a pretty solid baseline so that we can operate as per the best practices and per the industry standards, and we our environment will be secure.